Started with all the controversy of the today we're talking about Becky and Brad is God to many black people.
Mm.
I have a lot of points I want to cover with that, but we have a guest and Cynthia. Um, Cynthia, introduce yourself if people don't know you.
For people who don't know me, I'm Cynthia G, and I have a YouTube channel too, and I talk mostly about white supremacy, the psychology of it. It's this is an important conversation because I've said many times that it seems as though black people have elevated Becky and Brad to the level of their God. They like to say that they believe in Jesus. I say they believe in white people. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you want to start off with your monologue, and then I'll follow up with mine.
Well, my thing is that the reason I began believing that the dominant society, I guess, was the God of black people based on a number of different things. Because we see black people talking so much about Jesus, this, and we got to let God handle it. But whenever you're dealing with anyone and or anything, and they can do no wrong in your eyes. You forgive everything that they do. You defend them despite every single thing that they do. You won't give up on them. You won't be separated from them. You will idolize an image of your supposed God when in reality it's the image of a white man. You put that person over your community. You put that group of people over your livelihood. You put your faith in that group. Black people will wait on white people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Black people value white people over themselves, and at this point, even they even ignore biblical scriptures that by all definition identifies the behavior of the dominant society as evil, but they'll make excuses as to not address that evil, even though it's consistent with a religion that they believe in. They still won't address the evil that's running rapid. They'll sell out the entire community for these people. That's a God. And I truly do believe that the God of black people, of melanated people, that God's not going to do anything because you can't worship your God and their God at the same time. So ultimately, actions and behaviors on part of the entire black community is showing who their real God is. And our God actually sees it.
Well, let me follow up. There's a lot of things I want to get to when it comes to that, but I can piggyback. Religion is the key to the indoctrination that would happen to us, because you got to remember we came over here. We came over here with our languages, which was stolen from us, stripped from us. We came over here with our culture, our religion, and we couldn't practice none of it. You got to think even our names was taken away from us. Our names, something that doesn't bother anyone, the names. So a lot of us don't even know our real names or who we are. That's why a lot of times in the Nation of Islam, they would say, well, you don't know who your last name is because it was stolen from you, which is true, right? But the one thing they did do to black people is indoctrinate them with religion and white Jesus. Now, white Jesus is the religious symbol of white supremacy. And this is what we have to recognize. Okay. Now, the image of white Jesus isn't the true image of Christ. It's not. Any Bible theologian and even scientists as of recent shown that Jesus looked like how Revelation described the look of Christ, okay, which is more like me and you, Cynthia, and the rest of us. White Jesus was created by Constantine. When Constantine converted to Christianity, Christians was getting killed in the Colosseum and all that. So when he came up, he of course stopped that, and he wanted the image of Christ. Now the early apostles knew that you don't make no graven images. They just knew that because, especially from the old law. But Constantine wanted an image, so he took. A lot of people say Caesar, whatever his name. Others says that he's taking images from Jupiter and Apollo and craft that, and then that's the image. Because if you look at Jesus as a carpenter, right, in his day, Jesus was not frail being a carpenter like this image that they see. He didn't have this stringy hair. How is it that he would go to Egypt? How did his mother and father go down to Egypt if they didn't have melanin? How did they make it? Everybody shows how they was on the donkey and everything in the hot Egyptian sun. They would have burnt up. Jesus would have had 3rd and 4th degree burns from that hot Egyptian sun.
Exactly. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think logic here. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Even one of the leaders of Egypt, I think it was a president a few years ago, said, even with that situation with the Jews, they said that the Jews left black but came back white. You know, it's like these people have stolen everything from us and even colonized history, biblical history. And, you know, the Ethiopians actually have their only Bible, which is the Bible that have been touched, which has 81 books, right? So these people have touched everything, and they have the 66 books they give you now. Cynthia, do you know about the Ethiopian Bible?
I don't know. I've heard of it, but I've also heard of the what is that and I have it here and I still can't remember what it's called. The one that the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, it's an Apocrypha.
Yeah, I have that one where it has the Ethiopian version in it, but I've heard of the Ethiopian Bible, but I haven't really seen it past getting, the Book of Enoch.
Well, I found a full one on Amazon for about $60.
Wow.
And they also said that the Ark of the Covenant, if you know about your Bible history, the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia. You know, that's the only country that was never colonized. Okay. And you remember the scriptures that the Ethiopians was part of the first groups of disciples and spreading, Christianity. This is man's word, because you look in the Bible, it was no such thing as Christianity. Now, later down the line, the people start calling them Christians as they were spreading, the message or whatever. But Jesus never said, call yourself a Christian. That's why I always say I'm not no Christian. I'm a servant, because that's what Jesus said, to call yourself as a servant. And Jesus was a good black man. That's why I said these people that call themselves Christians, these white folks, they can't follow the Bible, because how can you kill people, enslave people, poison people's water, give freaking vaccines that's laced with things to children, abort babies? These people, no, they don't have a lick of God in them when they're doing the things that they're doing.
They didn't even, to my knowledge, because I read this book, if you can see it. I don't know if you can see all of it on here.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
This one, I read this book. And let me give a little bit of background first, because a lot of people like to call me an atheist, and
okay, Cynthia froze there. She froze.
Oh,
you there, Cynthia?
Yeah. Did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze. Yeah, you froze for a second when you said when people about to call you an atheist.
Oh, I don't know why I froze. Let me close out some things of some of these windows on my end to make sure that I'm getting. And let me quit Skype, because I know it.
Yeah, you shut Skype down. That pulls a lot on your CPU.
Yeah, and I think it was still up. I had a couple things up because I had Cyberlink up too. But yeah, but a lot of people like to say that I'm an atheist. But like I said, I was actually raised where not only did we do church on Sundays and Wednesdays, we also had Bible studies at home. So I was really ingrained in Christianity and the church, but it was something that, and I'm not saying that, I'm not going to tell other people what they should believe in, but for me, it never resonated with me. It was something that I literally could never connect to. And so when I saw Hidden Colors, and I saw how much racism and, vitriol and evil towards Black people was directed by people who called themselves Christian, to me, that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and I gave it up. Then when I read this book, because my sister kept telling me, Christianity is true again. We had hardcore Christians, and initially it was a little bit hard for me. I felt guilty a little bit giving it up, so I wanted to research to make sure, I'm not giving up on God. And then when I started doing the research and reading into it and learning that it wasn't even called Christianity, and you're right. Ethiopia was the only place that wasn't it wasn't colonized, but according to the guy in this book who wrote this book, it was invaded. And he said that there wasn't any Christianity prior to the invasions in Ethiopia. So right now it's like, I don't know, I can say maybe it's a little bit of a confusing time for
So
me.
to ask you a question about that book,
Yeah.
when did this invasion happen?
He put it in here. I would have to go over this and find it and read it. He puts a bunch of information and he tells exactly when it was invaded and by who it was invaded by. He actually makes mention of the Ethiopian Christianity. Give me a second to find it, because he actually makes mention of Christianity and people who like to validate Christianity by mentioning Ethiopian Christianity. So you have to give me a minute while I look over it.
Because what the brother told me from Ethiopia, he said yes, there were people that tried to take them over, but they fought back and kicked them out. So yeah, they tried. They definitely tried to colonize them. But from my studies of when I was getting my theological degree, is that the Ethiopians was in the beginning, was at the start of, like, when after Jesus had died and everything. They were some of the first ones to spread Christianity. Well, they didn't call it Christianity, but spread the teachings of Christ. And also they said that the first Israel, what they call Beta Israel, was in Ethiopia. Because remember, in the Old Testament, Israel was built and then Israel fell due to disobedience, and then God punished them by letting other lands come in and invade them, XYZ. And then they talked about, in the last days, and see, these people are evil. In the last days that they'll return to Israel, right? And then that'll start all of whatever. But, these people could try to engraft themselves, because that was considered Palestine, exactly where the so-called Jewish people are at now, which they are not part of the 12 tribes of Israel. They are grafted themselves in.
Okay, I got the part where he talks about it. But he said we have to take a short detour. There are some who may be wondering about Egyptian and Ethiopian so-called Christianity. Unfortunately, space doesn't allow us to fully explore the shoddy scholarship of those who at all costs want to link Africans with foreign atrocity. Ironically enough, both of these aberrations began to flourish right at the time the traditional ways of those countries began to lose their footholds politically and culturally. We should know that Kemet began Egypt shortly after the 25th dynasty, or around 700 BC, and he put the Gregorian calendar from about
it was 700 BC.
He said, yeah, 700 BC, according to the Gregorian calendar, when Kemet became Egypt, is when he said.
So that was before. That's way before the time of the Ethiopians in Christianity.
Yeah, he said from about 700 BC to 200 AD, they were invaded by Persia, Macedonia, Assyria, Greece, and Rome. By 3 to 400 AD, Gregorian calendar, Kemet was Egypt in color, mindset, and worldview. The traditional ways of Ma'at, Tahuti, Amin-Ra, and the like finally gave way to the fictional make-believe Jesus. All of the priests were either killed, had fled, or became handmaidens of foreign invaders. Therefore, the spiritual system was fragmented, corrupted, and broken down. We must remember what we now call Christianity is a hodgepodge of Grecian philosophic thought, Mesopotamian ontology, and badly fragmented Kemetic wisdom, just to name a few. The same holds true for the quote-unquote Ethiopian Christianity, and the Axum destruction of their traditions ushered in by King Izana. And then he put something, UNESCO Volume 2, Ancient Civilizations of Africa, hints at the traditional spiritual system of Ethiopia around 100 to 300 AD Gregorian calendar, hits at a war that took place, and shortly after this time, the new hodgepodge makeshift belief system, now labeled Christianity, took over for close to 2 millennia now, even in the destruction of Black civilization. And then he quotes something about the Black civilization. He says the Asians and mulattoes held north of Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, from Axum. The Arabs prepared their forces for the destruction of the now weakening Ethiopian empire. It was the situation for which the Axumite Arabs and their colored and Jewish allies were waiting in 350 AD. Their armies destroyed Meroe, and an epoch in history ended. Also, Christianity began to spread in Ethiopia only after the destruction of the Central Empire with the fall of Meroe. So that's what he put in this book. And
yeah, I'm listening to everything you just said, and at least from my studies, and because I look at it in the studying the time periods, the dispensations, not so much Ethiopia, but I'm kind of hearing a wind of atheism with him to a point. I'm not really hearing a lot of science. Some things I'm looking for, right? But teach his own on that book. But I can tell you this much. If we link, well, they heavy about, like I said, that the Bible over there and all that, and which I want to go over there and talk to the brothers and sisters. But continuing, that's back to us, and we talk about the slave plantation, right? And how we were forced to be Christians. Now, I seen a video with this white woman said that how they had to force black people to be Christians and have them to worship white Jesus, because if they worship white Jesus, then they would look at them God-like.
Yes.
And that was done by design.
That's what they also put in here, because all he's doing is he's going over some background, but then he's quoting and showing a book that's actually called, the manual that was actually called How to Make a Negro Christian. And this white dude who was heavily into incest went and gave it to all the plantations. And what he put in there was that none of the Africans, he said, none of them knew who Jesus was. They didn't know what a church was, and they had different gods. And he mentioned the name of the gods that he said that they praise and pray to. But then you're absolutely right. He put in there too that the biggest reason you want to give them Christianity is to make them better slaves. That's the number one reason was to make them better slaves and to make them stop having revolts.
Right.
So you're absolutely right there with us not understanding. And my biggest thing is, even if, let's just say, the Christianity in Ethiopia was the original Christianity, that's fine, but that's not even the Christianity that black people subscribe to, and they wouldn't even serve a black Jesus. Like, black people, I don't think black people would worship a Jesus that was black. I think that they would only be receptive of it if it was white.
I agree with you. Matter of fact, the brother Gorfood from Ethiopia, he sent me a Christmas card from Ethiopia, and it shows the birth of Christ and Mary and Joseph and everybody black. And I asked him, I said, you got white Jesus? The first thing I asked him, I said, I better not see no white Jesus in Ethiopia. He said, oh, no, we don't have no white Jesus over here. What's that? That's an idol. So I said, okay. So that's the only thing I need to know. But yeah, they and then also during slavery time, they wouldn't allow them to read the book of Exodus. They would lynch them and beat them if they read the book of Exodus. And
did you, not to cut you off, but while we were on the topic of them not wanting a black Jesus, have you heard about that 1969 issue of Ebony where there was a whole bunch of discrepancy over it? And basically Ebony magazine said they published an issue of it in 1969 with a black Jesus on the cover. And they said they almost went out of business because many people in the black community was upset and sent in letters threatening to cancel their subscription. They said they sent Johnson Publishing pictures of what some called the true white Jesus. So
I believe that. I believe it.
Shows you who they serve and who they.
I believe it. And that's a screw. See, my grandmother always had a black Jesus in the house. She had a big Bible that was so big and thick, and you open it and black Jesus was right there. And I remember as a kid, because I was indoctrinated to see white Jesus, when I seen black Jesus, I said, Grandma, what is this? Who is that? And you say, that's Jesus. I said, he black. He not black. You say, yes, he is. You say that other Jesus, that's not the real one. And it puzzled me, because I'm like, all your life you see this frail, thin haired Jesus, and they indoctrinate us to worship Jesus and worship them. And that was the whole thing in a nutshell. They gave the scriptures that teach you to be docile. Slaves, obey your masters and forgive and all things they teach the slaves. They never talked about when God said to rise up and kill. Exactly. They never talked about that. And that's what Nat Turner read. Nat Turner said, I don't know, you seen Birth of a Nation?
I did. I watched it.
So he said for every scripture that they tell us to keep us in slavery, it's a scripture for our liberation. And then he got inspired from the Bible to go and liberate his people, which was great. And so when some people talk about the Bible, let's say you reading the version and you reading the scriptures, they tell you, it's like Martin Luther King. They have a version of King they like us to get, that I have a dream king. And, you know, all this stuff about being together, but they don't talk about when Dr. King said, I've integrated my people into a burning building. Or they don't post a picture of Dr. King with Elijah Muhammad. Or they don't talk about how King and Malcolm X was getting together. Okay. Just like they don't talk about how Malcolm X was reconciling with Elijah Muhammad before he died. So could you imagine if Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, and Dr. King would have got together, especially the way Dr. King was talking the last 2 years of his life?
That would have been powerful. The thing is, they give Black people the part of MLK that they want them to immolate. And that's why you never hear them saying that, because at the end of the day, if you can say MLK had a dream that all people would be whatever in this peaceful utopia, okay, well then MLK woke up and realized that that could never happen. And that's why he said that he integrate his people into a burning building, but they'll never do that because then that reflects on, well, who owns the burning building? Who are they trying to integrate into? So right there, that would say, well, MLK realized who he was really dealing with, and he realized he made a mistake.
So
didn't they say he was he started to lean more towards the belief system of Malcolm X before he died?
Oh yeah, the last 2 years of his life, he was on it. They don't talk about the last 2 years of his life because he was calling them white folks out left and right. He was really getting more aggressive with the boycotts. If you listen to some of his speeches, and yeah, the last 2 years of his life, he was a different guy. They hated King See, this is what they said about King. It was okay for him to just talk about race. They were cool with race. But they say the moment King started really digging at them with that Vietnam War and started talking about class and economics and how he said, we going over there to the White House and they giving us a check. They said, we need our check with that poor people's campaign. Oh, they had to put a bullet in King's neck.
Oh yeah.
He was stirring up too much.
And they don't want all of people to see how they're being oppressed. But at the end of the day, they're like, this man, because if he's powerful enough to get these people riled up to where you had, Black people and some white people joining in the fight for civil rights, they're thinking, okay, well, once this man start talking about how all people are impressed, he's going to get all people to go against the government. So they're like, okay, he has to go. But it's just another manipulative tactic that they use to keep Black people in mental slavery, because that's what we're dealing with now. But it definitely shows, Black people's love of all things white and the worship of all things white. Because really, if you think about it, and I'm sure you agree, Phil, if we really wanted to be out of a system of white supremacy, we will be out of a system of white supremacy. Because what Black people do have the power to do, and we've shown that we have the power to do it. You can just look at the civil rights movement, even though we were ultimately going after the wrong thing, because you shouldn't want to be integrated amongst those who are beating you, brutalizing you, and hating you. But even though we did that, we to a degree accomplished that. So that shows that when we really want something, we have the wherewithal to obtain it. So if we're still sitting here in a system of white supremacy, then we just don't want to get out of it bad enough. And it's probably because subconsciously, Black people really do feel like they can't really go after white people, because if they do, they'll be going against their God, and they're not going to fight their God, because white people to them are the living, walking, breathing manifestations of their God.
That's right. I mean, you have to think about it. They have blind faith in Caucasians. Okay. Now, only the scriptures tell you to have blind faith in God, no man. But let me tell you something, Cynthia, that sickens me to the core of my soul. Okay. You could say something, I can say something, and it'll be questioned, it'll be scrutinized, it'll be double checked, researched, and that's fine. You should do that. But when someone and a few people, Black people, approached me with that Mike, the health ranger guy, right? And I caught him saying some slick stuff about Black people too. But he made a video about the how they trying to destroy black people, and he was doing it through science or whatever. And like, oh my God, Phil, this white man just said that they destroying black people, and they doing it through the water. They doing this, they doing that. And I mean, like, they're mesmerized. Mesmerized. If a white person says something, I was like, that's not normal. No other race does this.
White people don't even
black folks do what?
White people don't even do that. White people
I know they don't
have blind trust in each other.
I mean, it's just sickening to me. Like, I posted and it just frustrated me too. When I posted that video on Twitter talking about Tommy Lauren, and I took that video of the white dude calling Tommy Lauren out, and I posted that for the thought process of, okay, this white dude, he has no reason to call her out for her racism because she speaks for him, and yet he's calling her out. I had an individual say, "Oh, that white man, he's so great. We need more white men this way." I'm like, no, that wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to say black men. You got a white man calling out this female. Why aren't you? That was the purpose.
See, they're looking for a white savior. They're looking for a white savior, and that's not going to come. And then the thing of it is that gets me about black people, because it's just not really having critical thinking and analyzing stuff. Because, you know, we want to live in a society, even if we lived in a society, let's just say this hypothetically, even if we lived in a society where there wasn't a whole bunch of racism perpetuated by white people, you can look at a number of different things that will tell you that black people's God and white people's God is not the same. Because the thing of it is their God is telling them to do something completely different than your God is telling you to do. That's number one. Number two, black people were created on this earth first. Okay, we have a completely different genetic code. So therefore, if you both had the same God, number one, why would your God be white and create black people first? That's number one. And then number two, why would your God create both black people and white people, and they would be vastly different with a different, literally the exact opposite genetic code and psychology and spiritual and moral compass? Like we're nowhere near similar to them. So just based off that should tell black people, whoever their God is, it's not yours. It's just not the same. But they're in their mindset, they're really, really comfortable with this notion of having a white savior, i.e. a white God. And that's not the case. You don't have a white God. Even if they were completely good people, that would be fine. You have a different God, because at the very least you would have to ask, okay, well, why did God just create black people? And why did they create black people so much different than these white people?
And you have to understand, their version of Jesus is horrible. Listen, if their version of Jesus, it will allow them to enslave you, to rape you, to terrorize you, to burn down, not your neighborhoods, burn down whole towns that you created. Towns. You know, you get what I'm saying? We fighting for neighborhoods. We built cities that they actually still living in to this day, these Caucasians, right? So their Jesus let them do that. Their Jesus, like I said, allowed them to rape Reese Taylor. Okay, that's what their Jesus allowed them to do. Their Jesus allowed them to practice white supremacy. But I thought that you're supposed to have no idols. So white supremacy is a version of idol worship, which is heresy against God himself, right? If you study the scriptures. So their Jesus allowed them to bomb people's countries, to take out leaders, to steal resources. I mean, their version of Jesus is the most horrible version ever. And I don't want no parts of what God they're worshiping, because my God, come on now, it's completely against the scriptures. They can't, how can these race soldiers, and race soldiers say they're Christian too. They kill your kids, beat your kids' head in, and they in church, praise the good Lord.
Black people don't understand that, number one, not only did their God allow them to do it, and this is supposed to be this, and in black people's mind, you share the same God as them. But not only does their God allow them to do it, their God encourages it. Their God wants them to revel in it and enjoy it, and then keep mementos so that they can relive it, okay? Because their God also had them selling tickets during church sermons so that they could go out and torture and murder someone prolong their life so that these onlookers of white people could get the utmost satisfaction out of it. I was watching 100 Years of Lynching, and the way that they describe it in the pictures they show, this is joy on their face. So their Jesus wants them to glorify deviltry. Their Jesus wants them to engage in the act of torturing and killing people and hatefulness to the degree that it's orgasmic to them. That's what they don't understand. Like when you are in a situation, it was literally damaging to my soul to read about a group of people who were torturing a black man, okay? Torturing him and lynching him, setting him on fire. They were finding ways to stop this dude from dying, just so that they could torture him. And they said to me, they would prolong his life until they knew that the crowd got satisfaction out of it. That's what their God tells them to do. And somehow to black people, it makes sense that you would share the same God. So then by default, your God would be a white supremacist then. There wouldn't be any other way, because they get to enjoy wealth, they get to thrive, they get to do all this at the expense of mass genocide and terror on every living thing on the planet. But in accordance to black people, this is their God. So then if this is your God and they're putting white people in this position of superiority over you and giving them free reign to torture you, commit acts of genocide really on everyone and everything, then by default, your God would not only have to be a white supremacist, but extremely evil. Your God could only be the devil. That's the only way that would be logical.
Right. And their same God, in the midst of torturing, their God said it was okay to cut off the black person's fingers and toes and tongue and penis and ears, and they will fight over these souvenirs of this black person and put it on their mantle. Okay, this is what do what?
And they would put it on their mantles, on postcards, in business windows. So their God tells them to do very vile things. Their God told them to cut a baby out of a mother's stomach and stomp on its head.
Yeah, Mary Turner.
Yeah, that right there was when I was done. I couldn't even, I watched that and it made me so livid I couldn't do anything but cry at the level of evil that it takes to do that. And they were Christian. They were marching in a KKK in the shape of a cross. Like, how is it that black people are okay with that, that you can ignore that and still worship them as a God? And I say them because I was watching a show. Have you heard of the show Growing Up Hip Hop? I was watching the show.
I think I've heard about that.
Yeah, I was watching a show and Romeo was on there, and I couldn't help but notice the Jesus head that he was wearing on a necklace. Okay. And it prompted me to look at how many other celebrities, and not just, and I didn't say black people or anything. I just Googled celebrities that wears this Jesus head. Every last one of them were black men, black male celebrities. And I looked and scrolled down the pictures. There was maybe one Asian, no white people, black celebrities wearing the face of a white man. And even on Kanye West, he made his to have blue eyes and blonde hair. So they're running around with literally creating ways to show their worship for a white man. Because when you get this custom made and you get it custom made to have blonde hair and blue eyes, that is a white man that you're worshiping. You're wearing that in symbolic of you worshiping a white man. This is why we're still in a system of white supremacy, because when your power figures are wearing symbolisms of their worship for a white man, that is very problematic. Because you're not going to, if you're on earth, you're not going to attack the person, the people that represent the God you praise in heaven. You're not going to do that.
Well, Yellow Rose of Texas, she's not saying that Jesus didn't exist. No, I'm telling you he existed. We talking about the version of Jesus that the white man traditionally has worshipped and even still worship to this day. You get what I'm saying? Because even them race soldier police, they will say that they love Jesus, and you can't say that you love Jesus but hate the creation of God. That's my thing. So you can't be speaking about Jesus and God in the same breath. And you know, it's just like in Yellow Rose of Texas, for me, it do get you angry because it's heresy. These people do some satanic things, and then they want to tell you to get over it, or you know, it's in the past. No, it's not in the past. You killed Eric Garner, that wasn't too long ago. You killed Philando Castile, that wasn't too long ago, and then you support it. You give money to cops. You gave money to George Zimmerman. He's bragging about killing a child still to this day. What are you talking about? They're always killing somebody. But they're Christian though.
There's no difference in what they're doing today than what they were doing back during slavery and Jim Crow. They've just modified it so that you won't identify it as such, but they're doing the same thing because they're doing slavery. They're doing public lynching because the lynching simply means that you get executed in public without a trial. Tamir Rice, Jordan Davis, Michael Brown, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, all of those were public lynchings. The only difference is you don't have to go to the location on site. You can watch it on your computer, phone, and television. But it's still the same public lynching, and you best believe that they get joy out of it. They had a game called Hit the Nigger Baby, and then when Trayvon Martin was murdered, they had an internet game called Hit the Angry Trayvon. It's 100% the same, have not changed. And the thing of it is that Black people seem to think is that the white people of the past have the ability to create white people of today that are different. And they're not. They're genetically recessive. So they can only replicate mentally and physically what they are. And I think that's what Black people don't understand. But then again, if in your mind God is white, you're just looking at the physical manifestations of God. So Black people, I think, really believe that God views them as inferior, and God put white people in a position that is superior to them. I really do believe that Black people believe that. Their actions show that they believe that.
No, I can agree with that. But, you know, what trips me out as well is that when the race soldiers kill Black children, listen, most people, no matter what the country, go insane, get livid when your children are killed, okay? Black people's children are killed. Look at Tamir Rice, a child being gunned down like this. And the majority of people in this country, I'm not saying his mom, but anytime incidents happen like that, what's the first thing Black people do? Well, I gotta forgive. Oh, you know what? God wants me to forgive. And you the only one forgiving. Them white folks never forgive you for nothing. And then, you know how they was attacking me? Them white folks, when I was telling Black people, don't forgive them for nothing. Forgiveness is a choice. Oh, them white folks didn't like me. I said that. They didn't like it. They was emailing me, well, you know, you supposed to be a Christian, and that's part of the thing is forgiveness. I mean, they wanted to email me left and right about forgiveness because they were so afraid that I'm breaking down Black people's mindset on that ungodly forgiveness that you're doing.
Well, you are, and that's a good thing. That's the thing. But look at Black people's behavior, because I think that one thing we don't understand in this community is that most of your communication is nonverbal. So that means it's what you do. Very little of what you're saying comes out of your mouth. So if you look at the situation with Keaton Jones, you can look at how Black people responded and what their actions are showing you. Every Black person, celebrity and otherwise, jumped on that situation of Keaton Jones just simply by him saying that he was bullied. They had no evidence at all that this dude was bullied. None, not one bit of evidence that he was bullied at all. He simply had to say that he was bullied. Even after finding out his mother was a white supremacist, they still said, well, he shouldn't be blamed for what his mother do. But the same ones allowed Tamir Rice's parents to be drugged through the dirt, okay? They saw on video this boy being exterminated within 2 seconds of the police arriving, and they still made excuses. Black people still made excuses as to why that was okay. But when this white boy, Keaton Jones, just simply gets on a video with his crocodile tears and his mother coaching him, saying that he's being bullied without a drop of evidence, they believe it. But you have evidence that this kid was doing absolutely nothing, and you still stood by, and you still, and we do it every single day. We allow them to murder our people all day, every day. We allow this evil to run rampant, and we still believe that even whether there was a God, white, black, or other, why would God be happy with our actions? When we're not only are we allowing this evil to run rampant, we're defending it. We're helping to maintain it. It's like and if I notice this, and if you notice this, Phil, it would be ludicrous to think that our God doesn't notice it. Notice how we attack each other more than we attack them. We make excuses to condone their evil. We will sit there and go by the minority of them who may or may not be evil. And mind you, they're only saying the minority because they don't hear them verbally saying nigger or whatever they associate with racism. We will literally sit here and try to convince the world that the majority of them are good based on the minority who are, while they sit up and convince the world that we're bad, all of us are bad, globally regardless, and should be exterminated. But Black people spend their time convincing the world that all white people aren't bad. And it's like, well, if you love them that much, if I'm God, I'm thinking, if you love them that much and there's nothing they can do to get you to separate from them, then have them. At this point, it's like we need to consider our God just turning us over to our desire to worship everything that is white. Because if there's nothing that they can do, there is absolutely, they've done everything. We already know in 2018, there is not one thing the white community has not subjected the Black community to. We still defend them. We still want to be around them. We still want to convince the world that they're somehow good when they've shown us nothing but bad. We will literally attack our own and fight our own for even suggesting that we don't be with the people who are trying to destroy them. And yet we're still thinking that some God is coming. And then why would a God come? Like that doesn't even make any sense that a God would come.
Hey, I agree with you 100%. One thing about Black folks is the scriptures always said that we are a stubborn and stiff-necked people. It's just the truth. We are. And I agree with you. Most of us have traded the true and living God for white Jesus and white folks. We have, because we have an affinity for them as a people. We forgive them when they kill our children. Them asking for forgiveness. That's the crazy part. They haven't even asked you to, hey, could you please forgive me for what I did? No, you are on autopilot to forgive them. I mean, you have a love for them that I wish you had love for Black people. I mean, you love them like Shahrazad Ali said. He said, my people don't hate you. They love white folks. And it's the truth. They do. They look, like you said, you experienced it. I even experienced it. Don't tell Black folks that, listen, don't date, procreate, or marry white folks until the system of white supremacy ends. Then we can talk about love is love at that point. If you even try to give them an out and say, okay, if you don't meet a Black person and you meet someone of quote unquote color, they still will get pissed off. Like, see, I say things to see what they're going to respond. No, response is male and female that they love white folks. Let me tell you something. When you got Black men caping for Tommy Lauren, and that chick said the most egregious things about Black people, and you have guys saying, and I quote, I would love for her to call me nigger when I'm having sex with her. I'm like,
yeah,
what's wrong with y'all? Like for real, like these young Black men just make me sick. And some of the ones my age is even worse. Like this female, have you seen that female without makeup? She looks, oh my God, like she's half dead. Give that girl 10 years and she gonna look worse than Ann Coulter. Trust me. And Ann Coulter, she another racist one, laying down with Jimmy Walker. They always want some black dildo that's alive with a heartbeat, but they don't want your struggle. They don't want your problems. They're still gonna be loyal to white supremacy. Why would they trade that up for you? And Black men, like I said, it embarrasses me as a Black man because we supposed to be saying, hey, we need to set a standard, toe the line. It's like not immigration, but integration has destroyed us mentally. Yes, economically too, but mentally. We wasn't like this prior to desegregation.
Well, and they're doing this on social media. So that's one of the things that's more problematic than them saying that is the fact that they're saying it on social media. Because you have black men who are the most oppressed group of men on the planet. Most of that oppression comes 90% from white women. And the reason I say 90% from white women, because white supremacy would end in one generation if white women were not teaching their children to be white supremacists. Okay, when those male babies are born, when those female babies are born, they have to be taught. They see that black and white is different, but they don't associate anything negative with it. And I know I've been around white children, so they don't associate anything negative about it. Their parents have to be teaching them to associate something negative, and most of their caregiver, the primary caregiver, everyone knows, is the mother. So white women have contributed 90% because at the end of the day, white men are the aggressive arm of white supremacy. Okay, so they go out and they implement it because, of course, they're men, so they have the physical force to do so. But white women are making sure white supremacy stays alive by continuing to instill it in their children. So they're sitting on social media praising this white woman who, again, this white woman who even white men have called out for her racism. This is the white woman who said that unarmed black men deserved to be murdered by the cops. So she don't feel anything about it. And they're on social media talking about she could call me a nigger and I'd still hit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't care if she's racist. I would still hit and I wouldn't pull out. So you're going to create children with this racist white woman, and you're putting it all over social media while black people are simultaneously trying to call out racism by white people. That is a direct contradiction because it shows white supremacy isn't a problem for you because you just said that this white woman can be racist towards you, and as long as you can stick your dick in her, it's fine.
It's sad. It's sad. You know, we like I said, we seeing it on both sides. Like I said, I was discussing earlier by Meghan Markle. You have a person who's a direct union. Well, the I don't want to say that word. I don't know why the word descendant came out. Tariq crazy with that word descendant.
They're right.
He ruined that word now. He ruined that word. But anyway, Meghan Markle is a representation of a black-white relationship. Now she's getting with Prince Harry. And did you see them tweets today? Not tweets, but did you see that screenshot?
I did. Today? That was very telling.
And a lot of people haven't heard of what happened, but this is what happened. Meghan Markle, this is like the second time somebody this is a politician's girlfriend, but the first time was with who was it? The Princess Michael of Kent or something like that. Wore that brooch.
Yeah, the Moorish brooch.
Yeah, wore the brooch. Okay, now this one, I want to read you what was said, and I'm gonna do a video on this on a public platform, but I just want to talk to you guys about it. She said, the girlfriend, I wouldn't with a Negro. So a person said back, what's wrong with black people? He said, ugly, not my thing. They don't turn me on. Harry's marrying God. Wet as a scrubber, awful, a royal yank, yuck. So he said, what's wrong with her? So she's a gender equality, and I don't know what word she was saying here. She's obsessed with race and her seed with taint our royal family. Just a dumb little commoner, tiny brain. She's black. A dumb little actress that no one's heard of. This is Britain, not Africa. The person responded back, racist, say LOL, so what? Not wanting other races and cultures to invade your own culture doesn't mean I hate their race. Just means I don't want their cultures invading mine. Just don't like her. She's a black American, pushing their way to the top slowly. Next will be a Muslim prime minister and a black king. But this is what's being promoted as well. Mm-hmm. You know, the savior of black people is not a white man, and it's not a white woman. We have to get out of that. And the mainstream media pushes that more than what the agenda is. Just clear what they're doing. And black people are falling for it. Black people, you know, like I said, our kids are getting ruined by this. You have groups of black men that's just leading the charge on doing this. You have women that's leading the charge on doing this. They're so anti-black. They hate black people. And at the end of the day, that's how these people think about you. But when you have people who saying that you can call me the N-word and I want to have your baby anyway, like I said, I don't know. If I noticed something, Cynthia, you know, God's dealing with huh?
It's really disgusting. If when you look at it for what it is, it makes you understand why we're still in this situation that we're in.
Yeah, and I tell people, if God himself did not shorten their lifespan, and as he's doing now, when you have a low birth rate, your lifespan is being shortened. If God wasn't shortening their lifespan, because only God can do that globally, we don't have the power to do that. We would probably be extinct in 50 years because we just don't know how to act. We have lost our minds. And then this is another thing, we know you love them so much, a lot of black people, okay? They're angry if you tell them don't date them, but they're also angry with you for calling out racism.
Exactly, they are.
That's what I don't understand.
That's why I say they're worse.
Help me understand that, Cynthia.
They're worse than white supremacists, but I don't know if you've noticed, because I said, sometime last year when I saw all of those, reports on more of them dying than being born. And, I saw you saying that God is doing it, which obviously you have to look at it for what it is. None of the black populations have a low fertility. Only white ones do. So you would have to assume, whether you call it the universe or God or whatever that higher power is, does not want them around. So if they're restricting and cutting off their procreation, then obviously they need to die out. You're being told and shown that they don't need to be here. They're a virus and a cancer to society. So when I started seeing that, I said, well, if I'm God and I'm trying to get rid of them, then I have to get rid of the people who are helping them to be here too. And if you look at it, you've seen a lot of cases where interracial daters, the black person is being murdered or somehow led to their demise by being in those relationships. So I would expect to see that more, because at this point, when you're in interracial relationships and you're procreating kids, you're going against nature. Because obviously God and nature does not want them procreating anymore. And the fact of the matter is, because we only have short-term thinking, we're only looking at what's happening when that white person and that black person have a child. And yes, they're technically creating a non-white child, but we're not thinking about the long term of what is that biracial child doing. 9 times out of 10, they're going and procreating with another white person, and they're creating white children. They're not creating black ones. So ultimately, what these suicidal swirlers are not understanding is that if I recognize this pattern, God recognizes this pattern, and God would have to know that if I'm going to get rid of these white people, I got to get rid of the people who are trying to keep them around too, because ultimately, if I don't, that's defeating the purpose, because then they'll still just be around, and they'll be around with better genetics.
Yeah, if they can create a version of them that's impervious to the sun, and the physical strength that black people have, they would love that. I mean, that would be a way for them to survive, actually, but it's not going to work, because anybody that know about the Bible, okay, some people who's here to know about the Bible, barrenness is a curse. So if you're seeing global barrenness, they're not having children. You could say, well, somebody say, well, you don't like them. It ain't about like for me. It's like, I don't hate people. I really don't, but I have to pay attention to what's going on. I mean, they have done a lot of things for almost 500 years. They have done, and you have to deal with the consequences. Look at almost 20 million black kids that's been murdered through abortion, and they are the ones that put in the laws in place to sanction the murder of children from the womb. And now God has made them barren in the area. They say, okay, it's a law to kill babies. Now I'm not going to let you have none. I mean, you have to think about that. No other group in this world are barren to that point. Now, since they're barren, they're trying to, this is more evil they're doing, trying to take uteruses from, they're taking it from African women and implanting uteruses in them.
Well, they would only, if you think about it, the only people they could be getting them from is Africans, because you wouldn't go to other white people who have the same fertility issue that you and go and get their uterus. You wouldn't do that, because that defeats the purpose. So you would have to get them from the only group of women on the planet who don't have fertility issues, and that's Black women. So they're doing it from multiple fronts. Like, they're doing it by, you know, creating the artificial rooms and stealing their uteruses, but they're also now trying to convince Black women that it's dangerous for them to bear children with faulty data. Now they're trying to do that to scare you, the scare tactic, because if Black women aren't getting pregnant and they're afraid to get pregnant because they're like, okay, I'm going to die anyway if I get pregnant, then you don't have Black women procreating. And then they're saying a lot of them, they'll tell them they have health issues. They get hysterectomies, which is the womb being removed and the uterus being removed, and they're just simply putting them in white women. But the thing of it is they're even having complications from that.
Yeah, because that's
like,
the thing.
Having complications from womb transplants.
Well, because when God says no and God say that's it, I'm done with you, it's nothing you can do about it. Trust me. Look at what's going on in this country right now. Like I say, some people don't believe I believe, but I see it. I see everything's going on. You got fires and mudslides. You got flu that's killing people off all over the place in this country. And they don't talk about how a lot of people dying of the flu, opioid plague that's happening to them. No other race.
Well,
but you remember what happened to us.
They do know, though, that while white people might not be fertile enough to get other white people pregnant, they know that Black people are. They know that Black people are fertile, i.e. mostly they would do that. This is why they're pushing the interracial agenda so hard, is because they know that while a white man might have a 60% reduced sperm count, Black men don't. And so then that's when you're going to start doing the interracial agenda, because they know ultimately, again, most of those children go out and procreate white anyway. So, and they know that what the absentee father rate is because they're creating it. So they already know that once that kid is born, just like my sister's neighbor, the white woman, she has 2 mixed daughters by 1 Black man. And then she just had a son with another Black man. And a week after the baby was born, he had to go report back to prison. So now you have a white woman raising a Black male and 2 Black daughters, and she's definitely not going to instill Black pride in them. They will go out and procreate white. So they already know with this agenda they can do that. They're starting to push Black women with white men more and more, because I think they want to get Black women up to the rate of where Black men are doing it. But ultimately, that agenda has always been directed towards Black men for a reason, and they're doing it even more. Like if you know, you can see a reality show or anything where you see Black couples. None. You're hard pressed to see any. I don't see any ads. Even if you go look in the mall and there are ads on the window, all of them are interracial.
Yeah, and also this is the thing that I'm seeing too, with this interracial thing that they're pushing, right? Mm-hmm. Notice they're only pushing Black and white. There's many other races that date white folks, but they're not pushing them. They're not pushing Black and Asian, Black and Latino, Black and Arab, or Black and Native American. They're not pushing no other race with interracial, just Black and white. And that's what I finally say, oh, that's the agenda. They trying to push Black folks with them to procreate and hopefully do a iced tea and have a baby that look like their kid with Coco, and hopefully get them genes, because all that baby got to do is have a baby with a white person, and you don't know iced tea existed anymore.
Look at Evan Ross. He's biracial, and look at he had with Ashley Simpson, a white kid. Look at what is her name? Paula Patton. And she's mixed, has a Black father, white mother. She had a kid with Robin Thicke, kid's white. So Holly Berry, look at her child. That's a white kid that she had with a white man. That kid's not Black, that kid's white. There's tons of them. The majority of them, the data is overwhelming. They know most biracial people go out and procreate with white people. So they're like, this is our saving grace. And they're like, we know for a fact, because it'd be different when the mother is the primary caregiver, then usually if it's with a black woman, she's probably going to be around a bunch of black people. Like even with my sister, she has my nephew most of the time. So he's around black people most of the time. That's what his identity is. My niece, she has a white mother, so she's around white people all the time. She doesn't even know what her identity is, you know, because she's around white people all the time. So they know that you're more likely to have that success if you push black men and white women, because the mother is the primary caregiver. I just had a dude on my thing where he said his father was black and his mother was white, and his father was a complete coon that worshiped white people. The mom took him, had him in all white schools, everything. It's the same thing with my nephews. All around they're around their white family. They don't even like being around black people. They think black people are ghetto. They're dating white girls now. So they already know that they can carry this out better. They can ensure it. There are some black women that coon out, like your Sage Steele, but Sage Steele still has a black father and a white mother, so she'll still raised by a white woman. But they know that it's guaranteed that that child will, it's almost guaranteed that that child will go procreate white if they have a white mother and a black father. And again, they create the societal structures to make that black man absent from the family. They create it. So they know that this is going to happen. It's not as, you're not going to guarantee that with a black woman, because chances are she might not coon out as much. They'll still be around their black family. Two of my sister have kids by white men and they keep them around black people. So these children are just around black people. That's what their identity is. But my nieces and nephew who have white moms, they're around white people. They date white women. They will
Well, I want to ask you a question. One person say, but aren't most biracial people pushed out by our community anyway? Where else would they go?
They can't be pushed out by your community when white people don't accept them in their community. So how are you? No, they're not pushed out of the community. I don't think that they are, because I see black people embracing or trying to embrace my nephews. They just don't want to be around black people. They don't want to be around black people. They get accepted. They just don't want to. They think black people are ghetto. They have they're racist. Their mom's family is incredibly racist. Their mom's racist. She doesn't associate with any black people. So they're going to look at what they're doing, what the family that they're around is doing, and they're going to go with that.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, some black people would say, no, they're not black, they biracial, and we just need to accept it as that. But then a lot of black people say, look, you look at Colin Kaepernick, right? I mean, yeah, so you know he has a white mom, and I don't know who his dad is. I never seen him. But, you know, he feels an affinity to be a black man. He sure was treated like a black man by the league. That's for sure. They didn't treat him like a white guy. And he lost his job.
White mother, but they consider Obama black.
Yeah, you're right. He had a white mother. He lived with his mother and grandmother. Didn't have no interaction with his dad, at least, you know, for the most part, and yet they call him all kind of monkey and everything else, like they would call anybody else.
And remember, they said before Michelle and before he wanted to be the president, he primarily dated white women. He was actually in love with and wanted to marry a white woman. So it was still the same thing. That's just the reality of what it is. When the kid has a white mother, they're going to, it's almost 100% chance that they're going to marry and procreate white. And I think that's why they're pushing the interracial dating primarily with black men and white women. They're doing it more. They're trying to increasingly do it more with black women and white men. But I think contrary to what a lot of black men don't understand is that black women don't want a white man like that. They don't want a white man. Even with Crystal and Karen, I believe she truly wants a black man. I don't think she's wants a white
happy. Man. I know that much. She's not happy.
She talks about him too much. She wouldn't be focusing that much of her energy and her videos. You can't look at a video where she's not talking about black men. She wants a black man. She doesn't think a black man wants her. So that's why she's with a white man. She's settling. She's settling because she said she wanted to get married. She wanted somebody to commit to her. The first white man that she was with did it. So now she's with a white man. She's not happy. She spends her time on YouTube talking about black men, indicating she wants a black man.
Yeah, but then when I interviewed her, what, maybe 3 years ago, when she told me the story of her white dude, she was working and he didn't have a job for 6 months.
Yeah,
And
because
okay, so if a brother don't have a job for 6 months, you couldn't help that brother out, a decent brother. That's what I get frustrated about. You sit up there and do all that for a white man. I'm sorry, that white man is, I think Umar Johnson said this when he was in Houston. I have to agree with him. He said black people that get with Caucasians date down.
They do.
Because if you look at Crystalline and that dude she with, like, really?
That's all the way down, especially if you look at her. He's not on her level any way, shape, or form. So she's dating bottom of the barrel, because she's not an ugly woman. She could do way better than that. So that right there, she's bottom of the barrel. Even if she wanted a white dude, she could do way better in white dude terms than that. So it's like that right there tells you she's settling because she wanted a black man to validate her. She wanted them to like her. She wanted them to value her. She wanted them to commit to her and show she was important enough to be committed to. They didn't do that. And so if you're already weak-minded, if you already have low self-esteem, it only really takes one experience to do that before you just go over there. And the first time a white man gives you attention and acts like he's valuing you and wants to marry you, yeah, she's going to go marry him. It doesn't matter if he's dusty and bummy. She's going to go marry him because that white man is providing what she couldn't get from this black man. So now she spends her time, because the bottom line is, if she was happy with white men, nobody who's happy with a white man is spending their time talking about black men. You're not doing that. You just wouldn't. You will be happy with your white man. That will be it. See, I talk about black men because I like black men. I only date black men. I want black men to do better. She's talking about them because she really does like black men. She wants black men to do better. She's hurt by black men, but they've rejected her. So therefore, she's over there with a white man, and she's completely unhappy because a white person can't give you that spiritual cosmic connection that you need as a black person. Do you know how many black men I've known who will be with a white woman and is trying to find some way to have some kind of interaction with a black woman?
Of course.
Because they need it. They need that spiritual connection from a black person. They're not going to get it from a white person. So even if Crystalline Carrison is getting attacked, she's still getting that spiritual attention from black men. She's still getting that.
And then you have to think about it. She has her daughter from her first relationship. And guys, I'm only speaking from when I interviewed her, because we had almost an hour conversation, and she looked at that daughter. She explained to me that relationship, with that. So she said it didn't work out, whatever. And then she got with this dude. But maybe, from what I'm seeing, she don't feel a connection. She feels hurt. Because like I said, the girl cries, I don't know how many times, about black people don't accept her. And I just think she do what she do out of anger. That they don't accept me, well, forget it. I'm going to just lash out at them.
She's telling people that she's hurt. That's the thing. It shouldn't be confusing. She's very vocal that she's telling people. Even in that last video that you sent me, she's crying because black people don't like her because they rejected her. She said they told me I was ugly, that my skin was too dark. So she's telling right there, they rejected me. White people didn't. She all but said that verbatim in her video. She said white people weren't the ones calling me ugly. White people weren't the ones saying my dark skin was ugly. Black people were. She's telling them loudly and clearly. She said this black man did not commit to me. Like, I watched that interview on there, and I got from that was a black man. She wanted him to commit to her. He wouldn't commit.
Well, and then something else I noticed about her, and I don't know why it popped in my head when I interviewed her. She said, well, a lot of black men attack me, and she was talking about, I say, Crystalline, let's just keep it 100, okay? These men don't really like what you're doing because they deem you attractive. If you was an ugly woman, they wouldn't care what you promote. And when I told her that, she was just kind of like got giddy when I told her that, about the men or whatever. I said, oh, well, see, because why would she get giddy with me making that comment?
Because she wants them to like her. Because she wants a black man to value her. That's why. She wants a black man to make her feel beautiful about her blackness. She really doesn't. Even now with this white man pouring all this attention on her, she still doesn't feel beautiful. She doesn't feel validated. She doesn't feel like she has value to herself. She doesn't. She wants a black man to do that. She wants black men to give her that. And she's not going to get that from a white man. She's just not going to. So what she does is she sits on there and she talks negatively about black men, and she tries to tell black women, go where you're valued, not where you're tolerated. And the white men, look, white men are tolerating you. They're not valuing you, because if this white man valued you, he wouldn't allow you to be on the videos constantly talking about black men. He would have a problem with that.
Look, it's like this, Cynthia, it's like this. What I saw in that last video from Crystal and Karazin, and if I was her husband, I'll be concerned, because a brother could snatch her right now. All that rah-rah she doing about black men, a brother could come right now and snatch her, because she's prime and ready for it. That's what it is. 'Cause women, they like to project, and they like to reach out and all. She's supposed to be talking to her husband. She's supposed to be online crying and talking about black people don't reject her, and she don't feel like she's wanted. And like, look, a brother could get in on her and snatch her from that dude, and she won't, beyond black and white, be gone. Trust me. That brother snatch her up. I'm telling you, I'm telling y'all that's listening, that female can get took. I'm telling you.
She can. You can look at the way she was interacting with Angel in a video she did with Angel.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's like she's sitting here making her attraction to him very much known. So a black man could come and snatch her any day, because no black woman is really going to choose a white man over a black man. They might settle for one out of desperation, but they're never, if they have the choice between a white man and a black man, they're not choosing that white man. Crystalline doesn't think she has the choice between a black man, because she had a black man and he didn't commit to her. So she doesn't think she has the choice for that, but she knows that she has the choice of a white man because a white man married her. So she's going by what she sees and what she knows, but I don't think she thinks that she has the option to be with a black man. Look, and she probably doesn't at this point.
Look, all it takes is about a middle to upper middle class brother, because she used to have a certain life, to shoot at her. And she see, oh, look what he driving, oh, look where he live, because she kind of bougie. So he that kind of brother, if he want to come in and snatch her, she gone. I say that right now. He can't be no dude that's broke. It ain't gonna work with her. It has to be that kind of brother.
If she's used to a certain lifestyle, then
you got to either match it or upgrade it, one of the two. But usually a brother can have the same amount that dude got, but it's gonna look 10 times more, because that's just what we know how to do as black men. We know how to make anything look good. We want to.
Yeah, and she's not going to have that. I can imagine she has a very lost, empty feeling. I can just it's very easy to read her if you watch her video. It's very easy to read her.
You say, no, that man would, no. Actually, no. You say that man would be a super simp. Actually, no. He would be player made if a black man get the woman that's the champion to lead black women to white men, and he snatch her up, that's not no simp move. That's a player move for real. Like, you got her to come down and be with you. Oh, come on, bro. Man, she'd be so happy with a black dude. Like I say, it's just coming off of her. I see it. It's like I've never seen it come off of her like it's coming off now.
Yeah, she would. Like, she would just, you would probably see a transformed new Crystalline if she was with a black man. And I don't think that she would reject the black man's advances. I think she really believes that black men do not want her. I think that whoever she had in the past probably beat her down to where she feels like a black man isn't gonna, especially now with YouTube, and I know how they can be, because I know how I get attacked by black men. But I think that her self-esteem was beaten down to the point to where she does not think a black man will want her.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why she over and over and over and over and over, she talks about the things like, I think Sister Ajali kind of got on tour about, and guys, we just talking. What I'm saying right now, I say to Crystalline's face, I got Crystalline's number.
Hopefully they know I will. So.
No, I got Crystalline's number. I tell her that, I call her myself and tell her. But anyway, I don't really talk to her too much like I used to, because she kind of then fell out with me on some things. But because I never really had a personal beef with Crystalline, because once you actually talk to her on the phone versus watching her on YouTube, everybody's different offline. Like, let's say y'all guys don't think she's rah-rahing against black men in her regular life. I mean, that lady, you know, she's just a wife and got kids like anything else. But her man don't pay her enough attention. That's why she's on Beyond Black and White like she is. But what I'm saying with that whole situation is this, you know, it's sad not to be happy. That's the only thing I'm saying. I've been there before in my life. When you feel empty, you're not happy, it sucks. It is an empty existence not to be happy. And then what are you doing with somebody if you're not happy? Like, why? Like, what's the point? You going through the motions.
I can assure you she's not satisfied on any level. I can't even imagine them having conversations that would satisfy her. It's just, again, I could literally read Crystalline just from watching one of her videos. It's very, very easy. That's why when I went back and forth with her, it's like, chick, I could read you like a book psychologically, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to put all your low self-esteem all over this Twitter feed. But it's like the bottom line of it is I promise you she's not happy.
No. Well, you remember that video that with the white dude that turned on her, and what did she say? She didn't go in on the white dude. She said that black men didn't not protect her. Like, just think about that. She said black men did not protect me. Why do you want black men to protect you? You got a husband. Like, what are you talking about? I mean, but she kind of just told on herself right there too.
Because this Brixton dude said regular sisters got 4 kids. Some dude take her and them. He's a simp. Why? Because she was a white dude. He's not. Okay, there's black men who have multiple kids too, though. So,
and there's also black dudes that give with white girls that got multiple kids.
They sure are. I've seen
taking her white kid from her white man.
I've seen black dudes walking around Seattle with a white woman and her white kids trailing around. So let's not even get into this whole black women got all these kids and he's a simp if he's with her. Don't, again, like Umar said, they date down. So a black man might criticize a black woman for having multiple kids, but he will get with a white woman who have multiple kids by multiple different white men, and he will take care of every last one of her white men. I've seen it myself. I've literally seen black men out here looking like the nanny with a white woman tending to her white children. So
Cynthia,
not even go there.
Look, I'm gonna laugh at this comment. Sunnyside 1984 on Patreon said, put a black man in the suit like Morris Chestnut and Best Man Holiday. Can you stand the rain? She'll turn over a new leaf. You say, cause boy, she said. Yeah, I say that like if a black man snatch her, that would be the story of YouTube. I promise you. And like, oh man, Crystalline with a black man now. Everybody be talking about that.
Look at the show To Rome for Love, and I didn't watch all of it. I only watched a piece of the first episode, but all I saw was a bunch of black women crying over their experiences with black men. And they're going to Rome thinking that they're going to get love for white men, but people are not understanding the hurt that these women are having. They're not just waking up and bed wenching out one day. Now, I would never go that route anyway. It wouldn't matter how much a black man hurt me. I'm still not going and thinking I'm going to find love in a white person. But what I did notice on there is the amount of them that were literally crying and breaking down about their failed marriages to black men. That's and it's funny how I saw people make videos and talk about that show, but they're skipping over that part. They're talking about, bed wench this, and they're just going over to Rome. Did you miss the part where you literally have multiple women on there, black women in tears, talking about their failed relationship with these black men, marriages, like talking about they didn't value them, the cheating, the walking out on them. One of them said she helped build his entire life and he still walked out on her. So it's like the thing of it is for this bed wenching is a new phenomenon. So when it's a new phenomenon, you have to look at it and say, okay, there's a cause to this bed wenching. And so it's not them just going out wanting
you thinking like a woman, and most men, even white men, feel this way. They just thinking that reactionary, like, why is my woman being with this dude. This the same way the white man feel the same way. Shoot, hell, the white man kill I don't know how many black men, still killing to this day. I just did a story about 2 black boys got beat up at a bonfire for talking to a white girl. You know, they don't even analyze.
For a long time, though. That's the thing. That's been going on for a long time. There's nothing new there, really. If you think about it, there's nothing new there, because white men have been doing that. You know, we know they've been doing that for at least 100 years. I mean, they're still finding, because I watched one of your older videos about the dude who, and you showed the picture, he was found hanging from a tree. He had on some different shoes and he was tied to this 30-year-old white woman. I think that was in North Carolina or something.
Lyndon Lacey. He was dating an older white lady. I think he was like 17, and they lynched him. And like they found him with dirty shoes on. It wasn't even his shoes. They want to say, "Oh, it's suicide." When everybody around there knew it, they came out and say it was an extremely racist town, and you don't be out there no interracial. Not that place. Everybody knew that, but they strung him up. But see, the police is complicit with that too.
But that's why I say nobody should be surprised by that, because that's nothing new. The only thing that I'm surprised by is the fact that black men's willingness to die in the name of dating a white woman that hasn't changed, apparently. So that, to me, that's why I say, you know, with bed winching, that's something new. But this all of this valuing, I mean, because again, we can if we wanted to take it back that far, we could go to the Moors, you know, because they'll say that all those white women had nothing to do with them getting kicked out of Europe. Really? So you really think that them running around with these white women had nothing to do with it? Didn't help at all with them getting kicked out of Europe? Really? It's like, you can't really think, you would have to be an idiot to think that. So, but this bed winching is new. And I think that it does a disservice to, and I get why they're doing it. But if you really want to solve a problem, you have to go to the root cause of it. And I think that the reason, and I'm not saying all bed winch situations are like that, because we had bed winching, but even still, you can look at the plantation and you can say, well, they're on a plantation, they're getting raped anyway, they're getting no protection. Black men are getting raped on a plantation. So whether you want to be a bed winch or not, you don't have a choice. So we could say bed winching on a plantation, but then we could, if we break that down, it's ultimately going to go right back to the same cause. Bed winching is a symptom, and it's a symptom for a lot of women of not being able to access a black man that they want, or if they feel like there's security in it. Now, the thing is, people think that I'm condoning it. I don't condone it. I think it's a disease mentality. I think that there's too many other African descent groups that you can go date with. There's something psychological to you thinking that because you can't get the black person you want, you automatically need to go to a white person. To me, that means you just wanted to be with a white person. But the reality is, in society, white men have the power. White men are the ones who are dominating and doing all this terrorism. So the bottom line is, if they're subjugating and dominating this black man, a lot of them might feel like, okay, well, my option out of this, my way to opt out of this is to go get with the white man. Kind of like how Frances Cress Welsing, and when I read it in her book, it made sense to me. She said that you would see this rise of a feminized black man possibly as a way to get out of the system of white supremacy, because at the end of the day, black women don't have it as hard in the system of white supremacy as black men do. Black women are not a threat. So they can go and get things and benefits that black men can't get. It doesn't matter. He's going to be a threat to that white man. So she said that a lot of them, they'll be gay, and then you'll see them start dressing up as black women, maybe subconsciously thinking that this is their way out of white supremacy. So why is it so far-fetched that these black women would go date these white men thinking they're getting protection out of a system of white supremacy? Who else would get them out of it if not black men? Like, who else would? And if black men are dominated, and if black men are showing that they fear this white man, it should be common sense that you're going to start seeing them going over to white men willingly. Do I really think that that's where they want to be? No, but I do think it's about survival.
But Cynthia, but I will. What I need to say something about what you just said though about being dominated. For instance, the brother they arrested here in Dallas, right? Rakeem Balagoon. That brother and part of Huey Newton Gun Club. You have the New Black Panther Party and all these brothers out here that's trying to teach self-defense, teach to, you know, go against, you know, the grain. Don't let them folks, you know, kill you. All things that they teaching, they snatch out the alpha strong black man from the community every time you have one come along. And I pay attention to that strategy. They want the feminized black man to stay running amok. But the brothers that's strong, the brothers that's look like a man, you know, every sense of the word a man, the men that take it to them. Because we got a lot of brothers out here that still take it to them now. Not everybody going to bow down to white supremacy. And that's what they're afraid of. That you let the Rakeem Balagoons and you know, like our brother Yakanan here in Houston and all these different brothers run around and stay in the society. They're afraid that that's going to spread to all the black men, because those black men could take them little feminized ones and turn them around. I've seen them do it. Okay. So we still have to deal with FBI black identity extremists.
But wouldn't that be an example of how they are dominated? Because at the end of the day, just like he can't get himself out of that situation. He can't. Like, he couldn't stop them. The fact that we've even allowed them to have that black identity extremists task force in the absence of a white identity extremist one means that they do have domination. Because submitting, you could do that voluntarily or involuntarily. Now, clearly, he's been involuntarily dominated. But the fact of the matter is, he has no bail. So he can't even get himself out of jail at this point. He couldn't stop them from arresting him, despite the fact that he's done absolutely nothing. So I feel like that would be more of an indicative of their dominance, because even now, look at how many black men and who are in high positions who are just letting that go. It's like you have them in political situations where they have some amount of perceived power, and you let them make a black identity extremist task force that would obviously only be mostly, for the most part, be directed towards black men. Collectively, black men have done nothing about that. And they're the only ones who can do. Black women can't do anything about that. Not without the assistance of black men. We can say that it's not right. Like, there was a black politician who did. She did say that it's not right. She did say, where is the white identity extremist task force? She did do that. That's not going to go anywhere if black men don't do something about it. That's the thing. And it's like, yeah, we do have these ones who are independent trying to do something, but collectively, there's no collective unity to fight against this. And if there was, they wouldn't even have been able to get away with doing the black identity extremist category, let alone arresting this dude and not giving him any bail because you think you had no cause to even think that he had illegal handguns. Even if he did, people who take illegal handguns get bail. So they just get to arrest and snatch up black men off the street and change up the rules. And that's fine. No consequence at all. No recourse to that. No fighting against that. The minute we saw black identity extremists on the agenda, they should have nipped that in the bud right there. But none of them did anything. And it's like, we can't do it. Like, black women can't do it. We can try to fight as much as we want to, but unfortunately, this is something that black men have to do. They have to do it, and they're not. And it's like, I'm just like, why are they allowing this to happen? That's not going to be, that's the first, but it won't be the last. They're going to keep doing that. And the more you get no response from black men, the more they're going to keep doing it. It's ridiculous. Like, that whole situation irritated me. That's why I didn't even do a video on it. Cause I'm like, that's just going to upset me more than all this stuff is already upsetting me.
Well, if you really want to talk about dominance, I mean, you know, the white man's reach goes beyond black people, because if he went into Iraq, a sovereign nation, and just destroyed that whole nation just because he wanted to, he went into Libya that did nothing to nobody. Muammar Gaddafi was actually helping black people. That man tried to give, I don't know how many millions of dollars to the black community to help, you know, create businesses and schools and etc. And the U.S. government blocked that. A man had given his own money, not theirs. As you see the hellhole that Libya is, because America created it to be that way. You see Syria, I mean, they dominate literally the whole world. If you want to call about domination, everybody is dominated. The only one, and let's talk about it. The reason why China don't fool the U.S. because they say, okay, their military is bigger. That's why they spend so much money a year. So if you want to say dominance, they're dominating everybody. That's why they call it global white supremacy, not just on us. So it's kind of hard for us to really, okay, if we had the population of South Africa, I think we have a better shot. But we are a small amount with no standing army. You need a standing army to deal with them. You can do, yes, economic boycotts or work. Yes, sure. You can take some
of Africans doing nothing. So it's just like they wouldn't have even been able to possess all of this power if they did not have the help and the compliance of Black men. They could not do it. It would be impossible. They know that they can't do it. That's why they stay working to keep Black men docile, because the minute that Black men decide to not be docile, it wouldn't matter what all other men say. You ain't doing it, because if Black men don't want it to happen, it doesn't happen. All of those Arab countries, at the end of the day, they're just watered down Black people. That's all they are, is very much watered down, polluted over generations, watered down Black people. That's really just all that it is. They couldn't have took Egypt without Black men. Black men helped them to take Egypt. They couldn't have enslaved and overrun Europe without the help of the Moors. Like, this is one of the things that we don't want to acknowledge in our community. They cannot do this. They wouldn't have been successful of doing it if they didn't have help and aid from Black men in some kind of way. It's not possible for them to do it.
Historically, Black folks has always cooned it out and sold Black people out as hell. Look at that Kenyan coon with that little boy.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
You know what I'm saying? Like, male and female, we sell each other out. And yes, we have helped them go along, because when the white man was showing up to capture Africans, they got Africans to go capture other Africans. Why would they do that? But they said, shoot, they're not part of my tribe, so I'll help the white man get some money.
Exactly.
Get some things from the white man. It's sick. And that's why I don't like tribalism with Black people. I'm like, man, don't tell me about no, you Christian, you atheist, which I respect that. Christian, atheist, you NOI, you Hebrew Israelite, you Moor, you 5%. I mean, look, we Black. Can we just say we Black and just deal with the problems?
Exactly.
I mean, for real, man.
The celebrities somehow feel like this isn't their problem, that white supremacy isn't their problem. They somehow feel like they're untouchable for it. Like, did you see LeBron James' response to the coolest monkey in the jungle? His response was 100% okay, this is how it is, and we're listening to it. Like, you as a celebrity male, you're gonna say, okay, well, we are in a society where we always have to work harder and we have to do more and we have to fight more. You're okay with that? It's like,
I don't understand, Cynthia. Look, Cynthia, I don't understand how you can have hundreds of millions of dollars and you're docile. Yeah, man, you couldn't give me that, because now I know I got enough money
with his money, so that one entity or one person, kind of like what Nick Cannon did. Nick Cannon was able to say, my own league, then, since you want to call me a son of a bitch, okay, let's show you who the real son of the bitches is, and you can have your white remedial son of the bitches play these games and see how much money you make. But they kept playing. Blatant.
Yeah, I mean, it's screwed up. I mean, like I said, guys like Muhammad Ali, and how they, Muhammad Ali went to jail not to go fight for these people. You know what I'm saying? His whole career, he messed up part of his career. You know what I'm saying? Like, for that man had principles. He stood on something. And like I said, Kaepernick, he stood on something. And if it wouldn't be for Kaepernick, those guys wouldn't even taking knees. You get what I'm saying? So it just, I don't know. We gotta.
Would Kaepernick have gotten if he had the men in the NFL behind them? And then for them to put out and say in the NBA, oh, my players know better, they won't be doing that. Really? And it's Black men's talent and hard work and athleticism that's driving these, and you got the audacity to say what they will and won't do? How is it any different from a pimp and a prostitute? I need to know that.
And they pay, I mean, they say $40 million slaves, like that book.
It's just ridiculous. Like when I look at it, and that's why to me it bothers me when they talk about bed wench this and bed wench that. Okay, well, ultimately, she's just submitting to the same man that you're submitting to. So, what's the problem? You showed her it was okay to submit to him when you started submitting to him. They should not feel comfortable calling someone sons of bitches, and you're the talent. They why are they even feeling comfortable saying that? He just get to come out and tell them fire them sons of bitches, really? And those sons of bitches are making billions of dollars. There would be no NFL if it weren't for those sons of bitches, and y'all go keep playing. Really? I can't. Like it just, I'm like, but then if you look and you see them running around with the face of a white man, and you understand why, because the white man is God, and they can sit there and say that he's not. But when you have an engraved image of a white man that you're wearing, and you paid, because some of them got the Jesus face black, so clearly you can get them custom made to be black. Most of them got it white.
Well, I promise you this: if anything you see with Jesus with me is gonna be black. So man, please don't catch me walking around with that. Matter of fact, I want to get something with Jesus, black Jesus on the shirt or something, and just go walking around a bunch of white folks with it. I love to have a conversation with them too. Who is that on your shirt? You know how they start asking you questions. Oh, that's Jesus. Jesus? Yeah, it's Jesus. You know Jesus? Yeah, but I've never seen it.
Because it's a show that I've watched and I usually like it, and it's about God and angels and all this stuff. So I was trying to watch Supernatural the other day, and even though I kept telling myself, you know, this is a fake show, this is their show, they can write their show however they want to, the fact that they had a white man playing God in there, I couldn't even continue to watch it, even though I kept trying to tell myself this is the fake show. Just try to watch the show. It's a fake show. I could not sit there and stomach watching how ridiculous it is to even pretend as if God could be white in a fake show. I couldn't. It's just, I know that this show is fake. I can't even watch anyone fake pretend that God will be a scrawny, burn in the sun, ineffective, 60% reduced sperm count, can't even procreate or get his woman pregnant, struggle gene white man. I couldn't. I couldn't even watch it. I had to turn it.
The only one I accept to play God is Morgan Freeman.
Exactly.
He looked more God-like. What movie was that? That Evan Almighty, where he played God? Yeah. That was funny. But so I kind of went over time, guys. But I want to thank you for joining us on the live stream tonight, and we will post, of course, more content. Thank you for the people that moved up to our new $5 limit for the streams. Cynthia, you want to tell people how to find your Patreon?
My Patreon is just Cynthia G. I'll throw the link in the thing really quickly. But definitely thank you for having me on here. I think it was fun and insightful, and it's really a good respite to doing my videos, because I'm really stressed out with it. Like I'm trying to not give up. I really am. And so, but but I'm posting the link to the Patreon in there so you guys can subscribe there. Oh, it won't let me.
It won't let you? Where?
Oh, it won't let me paste it in the comment section of
what comment section of what?
Of the live stream on YouTube.
Well, where you at trying to paste it?
In the YouTube stream. I pulled it up on YouTube. You
got it up on YouTube. Why won't let you paste it?
I don't know. It said remove the link. I don't even know.
Just hold on. I'll fix that. Just give me a second. Hold on. Just give me a second.
Kashi D said she's hearing an echo. We don't hear an echo.
I would have to fix that off stream. But if you can do it on Patreon, possibly.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Maybe, or I'll get it to them one way or another. But guys, well, thank you for joining. You say you're hearing it now. Well, that means that it's time to go. But thank you guys for listening to the stream tonight. And those that didn't see it or caught in the middle, catch on the replay, and see you guys on the next stream. Let's see what is
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, that is no problem. Let me see here. What we got?